Welcome to Focus on the Candidates. My name is Cynthia Pooler, and my guest today is Pamela Moses. And Pamela ran for the United States Senate in 2024 in
November.
November in Tennessee. I'm sorry. So tell us a little bit about your campaign.
Well, my campaign was a grassroots campaign, and it was basically to give a voice to people who didn't have a voice. And I ran as an independent candidate because I had been a Democrat for many years, and I had come to the conclusion. My computer talking. Hold on. I had come to the conclusion that calendar. Hold on, let me turn that off. Okay. I come to the conclusion that we didn't have a voice and we weren't going to get one with either party in this state. So the best thing I could do is to run neutrally to give the people who like certain views on one side and dislike certain views on the other, to give them like a medium, you know. And so that's basically my campaign was about people, disabled people, elderly people, marginalized people, single mothers, poor people, middle class people. My campaign was about the people who are left out of the democratic process.
So do you think either major party are addressing those issues in elections today?
I mean, on some levels, you have some that are, and then in other, I think the federal level you have some that are, but on the local and state level, no. I think that they just anticipate people are going to be complacent, and with voter apathy and stuff, they just assume that, oh, poor people are gonna always just vote Democrat and things like that. But what I've learned is poor people and marginalized people have conservative views in the state of Tennessee, but they are programmed to vote a certain way because, oh, I always vote Democrat, I always vote Republican, and they never actually look at who they're voting for. And that's where they fall through the cracks. If they were asking the questions like, are you going to cut off my Medicare? Are you going to cut off my SNAP? Do you think that all people are equal? If they asked questions that were centered to who they were, they would have a better understanding that maybe I have Republican views or maybe I don't have Democratic views. So,
Mhm.
you know, I understand the political process a lot better than most people. Received my bachelor's in 2000 from the University of Tennessee in political science. So I'm an expert when it comes to politics, but I'm not a politician. I'm a musician, and so I felt, as you get older in life, you don't always do the same things that you do. I've been making music for 20 something years, and you develop a social responsibility, and to be socially responsible, regardless of what career you've taken, it is my responsibility to educate other people that they are making mistakes when it comes to continuously voting straight Democrat or straight Republican, because those people are the same in most cases here in Tennessee. I can't speak about Albany or New York. I can just speak about what I know. I grew up a Democrat, and I grew up under some real good Democrats. But at this point in my life, I don't see any of the Democrats that I saw, like Ned McWhorter, a big fat white redneck from Humboldt, Tennessee, who cared about this little black girl in Jackson, Tennessee. I don't see those type of people in politics. So it's my responsibility as a person over 30 or 40 to be that person that I want to see in politics. I want to see people that look like me and think like me.
So, what actually propelled you to run for the Senate? Did you ever run for any lesser office?
Yeah, I ran for mayor. It's always usually an issue when I ran for mayor. I was fed up with not just the crime, but the poverty and the inequality in Tennessee. Like I travel a lot, so I know what's going on in Nashville. I know what's going on in Knoxville. And so when I look around in Memphis, I'm like, we have all these resources, but we're so impoverished. And so I felt if I could get in a position to maybe have a voice that I could help people get the things that they need, because I saw so much fraud, waste, and abuse on the local level, but they didn't want me to do that. That I was falsely in prison for trying to do that. And so that's what kind of encouraged me to want to run for something again. If it means so much that they want me in jail, then I must be doing something right.
So tell us a little bit about when you were in jail, when you were arrested.
Which time? I hadn't got there with Dr. King. He had 122 arrests, but uh which time are you talking about? The first time that they arrested me, or the second time during this political debacle?
Both. Let's talk about both.
Well, the first time I was arrested, well, they both dealt with voting.
Yep.
And I was arrested because I filed a lawsuit against the Shelby County Election Commission because I had went through the process. I'm an expert in procedure and process, so I had thoroughly researched, being able to run for office. And so I went through the process, and then when it was time to put me on the ballot, they didn't want to put me on the ballot. And so I sued them. And John Ryder, God bless his Republican soul, he's dead now. He was the attorney for the election commission, and he encouraged them to put me on the ballot. And he told them they could take me off later if they didn't think that I could be on it. And so they didn't want to. So they then conspired with the then DA, and they had me arrested for all these illegal counts of voting. And it just kind of blew up in their face because, you know, what they said I had done, I really had not done, or I guess did. I don't know if that's proper grammar, or my mother would be upset. But to make a long story short, I went through the procedure of, trying to get on the ballot. They wouldn't let me on the ballot. They knew that I had a good chance in winning, so they had me indicted. And I was coming back from London, and I was basically legally kidnapped from the airport because the district attorney had issued this fugitive warrant for me. And the people in Chicago thought it was just ridiculous. But, they had to hold me because they had me in their custody. But she had charged me with, illegal voter registration and a bunch of other stuff. And I went through the legal process after coming back from Chicago, and I went to trial. And the district attorney was so corrupt that they fixed the jury. They had people on the jury that shouldn't have been on the jury. One person who I remember particularly, because her name was Pamela too, she was the
Yeah.
jail psychologist. And
Mm.
I've been to jail a couple times, so she had seen me, and she was on the jury. And so finally, when we brought that to their attention, they got rid of her. But that had poisoned the whole jury. Just her being able to say, I know her. She was my patient. I was never her patient, but if she told the when you're doing voir dire, that you have to say what type of employment you do. So she told them that she was a psychologist, and then she told them that I was her patient. So I basically lost from the beginning of the process. So they ultimately convicted me. But the judge who was convicted by God, I do believe that God is what freed me. I do believe that he was convicted, and he set my conviction aside and gave me a new trial because of it was so many things that happened during the trial, tampering with witnesses. You'd have thought I was somebody the way they were trying to convict me. And all this came down to voting. So after that, when I got through with that, I decided, you know what? I'm sick of the way the law is being misapplied. I'm going to have to do what my grandmother taught me. If you don't like the law, you change it. So I'm going to run for US Senate. And that's how I ultimately decided that I was going to run for US Senate because uh you know, with the current senator that we had, she's not from here, which I think is a disservice. I don't think I could move to Albany, New York and become a US senator from New York. She's from Mississippi, but she's got been in Tennessee long enough that people think she's from here. But I was the only in that race. I was the only born and bred Tennessean, and the people decided, I guess, because most of it's a red state, they voted for Trump, so they also voted party lines and they voted for her. But if they'd have paid closer attention, they would have known that I was the only real Tennessean in the race.
So you ran as a third party. What party did you run on?
I just ran straight independent.
Independent.
Yeah, I kind of trying to get away from the parties. You know, if I run again for as a political party, it would only be for strategic reasons, not because I'm a Democrat or a Republican. It would just be because I understand the science enough to know that I may need a political party to win.
So there's been a lot of stuff on the internet and on TV about third parties. Andrew Yang heads up the Forward Party, and and Elon Musk started the America Party. What do you think of that?
First of all, Elon Musk is not an American, so that within itself is a fallacy. He's an African American, but he's not an American. He may be by citizenship, so I don't like that. Just with that,
Yeah,
it just
but you know what? He can't run for president, but there's no stopping him doing other things in politics, right?
right. But you know, I think Elon Musk is one of the problems with America. Americans have forgotten who they are, and we value things such as money. The only thing that makes Elon Musk relevant is the amount of money that he has. If he were not a billionaire, he would be just another white man in America. And I don't value money, I value people. And I think when Americans get back to the core components, hold on real quick.
I can't hear you.
Can
There
you
you
hear
go.
me now?
Yes,
Can you hear
yes,
me now?
yes.
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
Everybody wants to do stuff when you're trying to do stuff. Um, I lost my train of thought.
We were talking about Elon Musk.
Yeah, Elon Musk, you know, people value money too much. And you know, it's you need money to live, but at the same time, you know, money is not what made us Americans. It's not what makes me who I am. Whether I have money or not, I still need to be humane. And Elon Musk is trying to kill everybody here in Memphis, Tennessee with his XAI thing. A lot of people don't realize it, but he's trying to put a nuclear plant here. And so for him to be saying, now I want to do a political party, yeah, you got money, you can do whatever you want. This is America. But when it comes to people, you know, I think he needs to stay out of the political realm because he's contaminated it at this point. He helped Trump get in, now they at odds, you know?
Right.
That's not American. Americans, the real Americans care about people. And once people start caring about their neighbors and what's going on down the street, this country will be a lot better. We care more about money and foreign wars than we do regular people. And that's just not who I am.
So you said you had trouble with the law when
Yeah.
you okay. Have you talked to anybody else that ran for politics who also had trouble um, being arrested or being involved with different aspects of the campaign?
Yeah, I talk to people every day. I try to encourage people to register to vote. And you know what's so wonderful and why I think people like me should be given second, sometimes third chances is because I have a friend. She was just like me. She was actually she had federal charges. She's a lawyer now. She's a public defender, and she's being considered to be a judge in Davidson County, Tennessee. Her name's Keita Haynes. And so one thing I do like about Trump, he's a convicted felon. And people are like, oh, he's a convicted felon. Well, there are a lot of convicted felons. He has opened the door for people like me because you can't throw that up in my face anymore. We got a felon in the White House, and it's okay. So either you're going to show how racist you or chauvinist you really are by saying, well, I'm a felon, well, so is he. Only thing different between me and him is he's a white man. So I just think that by President Trump having that on his background, he has now opened the door for them to stop throwing it up in black people's faces here in Tennessee.
So, are you going to run? Do you think you might run again?
I'm thinking about it. I'm just waiting to see where the spirit leads me and where the need is to make sure that we have a voice at the table. But I have a trial coming up in October, and I hope you'll join the Zoom because a lot of time they have this stuff on Zoom. And my case is a three-panel hearing case. It's one of nobody has ever challenged the constitutionality of permanent disenfranchisement, but I have, and we have a trial in October. And depending on what happens in that trial, if I win, 500,000 people are going to be eligible to vote. And so if I win and 500,000 people are going to be eligible to vote, I could pretty much tell you, yes, I'm going to run for office and I'm going to find that 500,000 people. And I might be Tennessee's first black woman governor ever. Because I
So,
can't let Marsha Blackburn become governor of this state. That means I got to come live with you if she becomes governor.
so, when you go around talking to people, what are the big issues that people are concerned about, and other politicians addressing them?
Healthcare and poverty. That's what everybody cares about. I don't care if you're rich or poor. Healthcare. People want to know that if they're sick that they can get medical treatment. People who are hungry want to be fed. Those are the biggest issues that I see east or west because I went and talked to everybody. I just didn't talk to urban cities. I talk to rural communities, healthcare and food. I mean, healthcare and poverty, those are their biggest concerns that, with them taking away the Medicare and the SNAP and the Medicaid and the SNAP, they have some apprehension and anxiety about that.
Okay. So you'll know after what, October, you said?
Yeah, if it's the Lord's will, whatever God wants me to do, I'm going to do. But I'm not getting in bed with any political parties. If I run, as with the political party, it's only for strategic purposes because I understand the science of politics. I'm a political scientist.
I think what I'd like to do is invite you back in October
For an
after you,
update.
for an update. Yes, I think it's important. Would you come back on?
Absolutely. And I appreciate you giving, me this opportunity to speak with you. I'm always open to talking to different people because I think the country needs more dialogue. I think people need to talk to people. If we talked more, we would fight less. And I appreciate you having me.
So ultimately, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Love your neighbor.
Okay.
Love your
Right.
neighbor and vote. That's the only thing I can say.
Okay. So Pamela, we'll talk again in October.
All right.
Uh,
Thank you.
y- uh, this is This is Focus on the Candidates. I'm Cynthia Pooler. My guest today has been Pamela Moses, and she ran for the United States Senate, and she's thinking about doing it again. So if you like this show, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And thank you, Pamela. Thank you, everybody, for listening. You have a wonderful day.
You too, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.